Hello, everyone. I am Jonathan Little. Happy New Year. I hope you're having a fantastic year so far. I know it just got started. And today I'm going to answer one of the questions my good students ask me on a regular basis because they're winning poker players and they are ready to start making significant money from poker. So if that is you, this is a video for you because I'm going to teach you how to make $100,000 per year playing poker. Before I get to it though, if you're enjoying the content I make, click like, click subscribe, leave a review if you're listening to the podcast version of this. That goes a long way to helping me. So, click like and click subscribe. So here's the question that I was asked. I realize it's a little bit vague, but let's just read it. I want to replace my job and make at least $100,000 per year playing poker. Okay? I'm already a winning 1-2 live cash game player, and I have good results playing $200 buy-in tournaments. How should I proceed? Notice right here that we're already missing a lot of relevant information, right? For example, what's your bankroll? If you have $50,000 already, that's going to allow you to play different games than if you have, let's say, $5,000, right? Also, do you have any other requirements in life? Let's say, for example, you have a family with kids and that requires you to spend a lot of time with them, or you want to spend a lot of time with them, right? That's going to lead to a very different answer than if you have nothing going on in life at all and all you care about is winning that $100,000. Do you care about variance, right? If you don't care about variance at all, there are, different ways to make $100,000 than if you really want to have no variance. Like say you really need to win that $100,000 every single year. So I'm going to give you advice pertaining to some broad ideas and give you ideas for how they can apply to various types of people with different types of things going on in their life, because I realize you're not all in the same scenario, right? So first things first, realize this is just a math problem. You want to figure out the hourly rate you need to have to make $100,000 per year based on the number of hours you want to play each year, which can be broken down to each month, which can be broken down to each week, which can then be broken down into each day, right? So what this roughly works out to is that if you play about 40 hours each week, you need to make about $50 per hour or so. You actually need to make a little bit more, but let's call it 50 for simplicity. If you don't want to play 40 hours each week because you have other things going on in life, that number needs to be higher, right? Like say you only want to play 20 hours each week, you need to make $100 per hour. Obviously, you can tinker with these numbers and figure out exactly what hourly rate you need. So then you have a few other things you want to consider, like what counts as an hour? Do you count travel time? For example, I'm flying to Nottingham in about 8 hours to go play the Party Poker UK Millions, and that's going to require me to travel roughly 8 hours there and 8 hours home. Does that count as an hour of work? Do you count the time it takes for you to get into the game? Like say you go to the casino to play live poker and there's only one table running that you want to play. Maybe you have to wait 30 minutes or 3 hours to get in the game, right? Does that count as time playing? Do you count full travel days, right? Whenever I travel somewhere overnight, do I count that as 24 hours of quote-unquote work? What if you're playing tournaments and you go and you play a tournament and you bust in 20 minutes? What do you do for the rest of the day? How do you get in volume, right? Most tournaments now have re-entry, so if you bust quickly, you can play again. However, that may be changing as players are realizing re-entry is really not such a good option for most of the people in the field. So anyway, what is an hour? Okay, so here's how I would recommend you go about winning $100,000 per year, playing 40 hours each week. This is a full-time job. You may find that you don't love playing poker 40 hours per week, especially if you have not ever tried doing that. But anyway, where can you make 40 hours or $100? $100. Where can you make $100,000 playing 40 hours each week? The easiest way, in my opinion, by a mile, are these two answers right here: 2-5 live cash games with a 10 big blind per hour win rate, or 5-10 live no limit cash games with a 5 big blind per hour win rate. When I used to play at Bellagio, every single day, I would show up at noon, I'd leave at midnight. Notice I'm doing that 7 days a week, and I'm putting in 12-hour days. It's way more than 40 hours a week. I had a 13 big blind per hour win rate at 5-10. And at 10-20, it was about an 8 big blind per hour win rate. I know these numbers may sound very big if you're an online player because let's say you only play 30 hours or 30 hands per hour live. That results in something like a 30 big blind per 100 hand win rate, which is gigantic compared to online poker. But live poker is very soft. And I realized whenever I was grinding those games, that was years ago, But I have personally coached many of my students at pokercoaching.com to win roughly those win rates. That's what they report to me. They're winning at 2-5 and 5-10, roughly 10 big blinds per hour. So I know this is still achievable for people who are willing to work hard and dedicate a lot of time and effort to improving their lives. So I know that this is possible, and I know it's possible in many cities across the world, because any place that has a casino with a decent poker room, they have 2-5 games. So get in there, play your 40 hours a week at 2-5 with a 10 big blind per hour win rate, and there you go. You have your $100,000. I realize it's not the most exciting, glamorous way to get the $100,000, but remember, that was not what the person said in their question. They didn't say they care about fame. They said they just want to make $100,000 a year. This is a relatively low variance way of doing it too, because if you have, let's say, $10,000 or $15,000 to your name, you can go ahead and start pushing into 2-5 no limit, even if you're a 1-2 player, like the person in our question said, right? I have the Bankroll Bible at jonathanlittlepoker.com/bankroll. So go there and check that out for my bankroll advice. But in general, you're going to find that the game that requires the lowest bankroll in terms of number of big blinds is live poker, because those games are often very, very soft compared to online games and live cash games in particular. The next option is to play $500 buy-in tournaments with about a 50% ROI. That's going to result in you making $250 per day on average, and you can play maybe 1.5 tournaments per day on average, which will result in you winning about $300-something per day, which will come out to about $100,000 per year. This, though, requires a much bigger bankroll than playing the cash games. Also, you may not be able to play $500 worth of live tournaments each day, especially if you don't live in a major poker city like Las Vegas or South Florida or Los Angeles, right? So volume may be an issue here, but there are many grinders out there who play roughly $500 per day in volume, and they win their $100,000 per year. Ideally, I would suggest you play low or small field tournaments, because as the field gets bigger and bigger, what happens is variance goes through the roof, which is going to lead to some years you winning $300K, some years you break even. Maybe that's fine with you, maybe it's not. You have to figure that out for yourself, right? Next, you can play $1,000 in online tournament volume per day with a 30% ROI. So if you play $1,000 in online tournaments a day times 30%, that's about $300 per day times 365 days a year equals about 100K. Now, this is definitely doable, definitely achievable, but again, it requires a decent amount of grinding, because you can't just play, like, let's say two $500 buy-in tournaments online and have 30% ROI in those, unless you're just like one of the best players in the world, because ROIs, return on investments, online are much lower than they are live. So that's a difficult one, and also that's going to require a large bankroll as well, because return on investments are lower, which is going to lead to more volatility, right? And next, perhaps the most difficult way to do this is to play 1-2 online 6-tabling with an 8 big blind per 100-hand win rate. Online cash games are tough. They're in a pretty rough spot right now, and I would definitely not suggest you go that direction. I would definitely not suggest you play the fast forward or Zoom tables, because in those games, first off, they don't even run at high stakes, which means all the good players, the best players in the world, they're playing 1-2 and 2-5, and you don't really want to compete with those. So your win rate is going to be minimal. It's a great way to practice. It's a great way to get experience, but it's not a great way to grind out tons and tons of profit. So I would not suggest the online cash game route. It's definitely way, way, way more difficult than any of these other options. So something else you want to consider is playing 40 hours per week is actually pretty tough. You will get burnt out unless you have excellent life balance or you are a robot. Like I said, when I was playing in Vegas, 5-10 no limit, I would play legitimately 70 hours per week every week, but that's because I didn't mind it. Oh, hello. What are you doing? Oh, look at this. We have a special guest. Can you say hello?
Hello.
You need to have good life balance. Can you say you're my life balance? You're my life balance. I am making a video. Okay, go on. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I'm back. That's what happens when you have children. So you need to have excellent life balance, otherwise you're going to get burnt out. So I suggest you set a strict schedule and stick to it. This is highly, highly, highly important. And that schedule, for me, back when I used to play a lot, looked like wake up at about 10 a.m., go to the gym, get to Bellagio by noon, play till midnight, go to bed. And I would stick to that unless one of two things happened. I either lost $4,500 in the day playing 5-10 or $9,000 playing 10-20, which is 450 big blinds. Or if the game was really good, I would stay late. Now, look, we're talking to good poker players here. We're not talking to superstitious bad players. And I recognize that stop loss limits are irrelevant if you have a perfect mindset. But back then, I did not have a strong mindset. I mean, it was pretty strong, but it certainly wasn't great. And also, if you don't feel like playing, you may not actually have the win rate you think you have. And I know whenever I would get buried, I would not really have the win rate that I thought I had because I wouldn't be focusing very well. So it probably happened once out of like 15 days where I would get buried within the first 5 or 6 hours, and then I would just get up and quit. It's okay, right? I know a lot of people get in their minds, oh, I don't want to have a losing day, but get over it, right? Again, we're talking to good poker players here who are winning players. You're going to have some losing days. That's how it goes. So set a schedule and stick to it. And realize that you are your own boss. So you have to motivate yourself. So make sure you go to work. Next, don't forget expenses, right? They are especially high for live tournaments, especially if you plan on traveling, so you must account for them. I have an article about this, jonathanlittlepoker.com/travel rake. Go there and read it. It's really important. These expenses will significantly decrease your return on investment, especially if you play small buy-in tournaments. Great example of this is a lot of players travel to play $300 buy-in live tournaments. So let's think about this. If you have a 50% ROI and a $300 live tournament, you're going to make $150 in that tournament. Minus, how much does a hotel cost to go there? Let's say $50 a night if it's cheap. Okay, so now we're making $100 a day. What if we have to pay an extra $20 per day for food because food's more expensive at casinos? Now we're making $80 per day, right? Say you had to pay a little bit of money to get there. You had to travel there, right? Let's say if you divide your airplane flight by, let's say, 5 days. So let's say it's $100 divided by 5 days. It's $100 cost per day. Now you're, losing $20 per day. So you need to make sure you're putting in a lot of volume when you do travel to play, or that you're playing relatively high stakes games. Also, don't forget about taxes, medical insurance, retirement plan, etc. I am shocked at how many poker players who've been around for a long time, who have won a lot of money, have, first off, not a lot of money to their name and no retirement plan. And that is detrimental long term because your win rate will not be high for the rest of your life. It just won't. Eventually, your brain's not going to work so well. So you need to make sure you plan for the future. It is very, very important. I cannot stress enough how important it is whenever you win money, set some aside. So don't forget those expenses. So my suggestion, like I said, go somewhere where you can play in a reasonably soft 2-5 or larger game whenever you want. Now, when I say whenever you want, there are going to be peak hours, right? There are certainly times where the games are going to be soft. Usually that's from something like 6 p.m. until 6 a.m. in a lot of places. And if you're cool playing those hours, do it. Back when I used to play at Bellagio every day, I would play noon till midnight because I still wanted to have somewhat regular hours because I wanted to hang out with my girlfriend, wanted to hang out with friends during regular times. I did not really enjoy staying up till 6 a.m., so I was willing to sacrifice a little bit of return on investment in exchange for having a more normal life. But again, if you only care about making money, play peak hours, right? So doing this will keep your expenses relatively low because you're not traveling. And if you go somewhere like Vegas, you can get an apartment for $1,000 a month, right? So this is going to keep expenses low, allowing you to make $50 per hour or more. From there, you need to grind a ton, right? I didn't mention this, but you also need to study a ton. Realize that you need to make sure you're continuously improving. It's very, very important, especially if you want to continue moving up in stakes, right? So you may find this cash game grind not the most exciting way to win money, but you will print money in the long run. Printing money is great. I've done it in many, many periods throughout my career. I did it when I first played Sit and Goes a long time ago. I had almost no variance. I did it when I was playing at Bellagio every day. I had almost no variance. And I played poker where it's the exact opposite, where you have very, very big swings, right? Live tournaments lead to big swings in your bankroll, whereas cash games, if you are a good, consistent winning player, leads to just a nice straight-up graph. Nice straight-up graphs are beautiful. And that is how I would suggest the vast majority of people go about making $100,000 per year. I also have another article you can check out, jonathanlittlepoker.com/should you go pro. I actually got some negative feedback for this because it sounded like I was trying to tell a lot of people not to go pro because I was saying, look, you got to account for expenses, taxes, win rate, retirement, etc., etc. But look, I always make sure I give my students real information that will actually give them the knowledge they need to know if they even want to attempt to become a pro. And maybe it's right for you, maybe it's not, but it's certainly achievable if you are willing to devote your life to it. And that's very important. If you're willing to devote your life to it, you can make it. I'm not going to say no problem, but if you're already winning at 1-2, you can probably do it. But a lot of people don't want to devote their life to it. They want to play 10 hours per week. And sorry, it's not going to happen. So anyway, that is how you can make $100,000 per year playing poker today with relatively low variance, with a relatively low bankroll requirement. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, again, click like, click subscribe. If you want to study even more, and I'll teach you all the skills required to actually beat these 2-5 cash games and 5-10 cash games and higher, check out pokercoaching.com/premium. There I have my cash game masterclass. It's a 29-part series where I go through everything you need to know to crush those games. There's also tons of content on tournaments there as well. I've just hired some of the absolute best exploitative players in the world, including Jonathan Jaffe. He is, if you ever played with him, you know he is a master at exploitative poker. And I hired the GTO expert of the poker world, Michael Acevedo. So they're currently making classes and webinars for all of my members of Poker Coaching Premium. So check it out at pokercoaching.com/premium. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great 2020, or if you watch this in the future, whatever year it is. And I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I want my students to succeed at life and get what they want out of life, and I am here to help to the best of my ability. So good luck in your games, good luck in life, and if you make the leap to making $100K a year, let me know. Good luck.